It's kind of overwhelming. It's just beyond a person's imagination to think that you can go to the Supreme Court, but 6 years before you're not really sure that that's going to happen. And so I was about as low as you could get. There were so many things to think about, and to go through that first 2 weeks was very, very difficult for my staff and for us as a family, and for me. We just want to serve families well.
And to create the best environment for them.
It is a very significant moment when a family loses a family member, whether it's a husband or wife or son or daughter. It's very significant to them. The main goal for us is to help families get to the point where they can begin to heal.
Here at Harris Funeral Home, we hear it a lot. When people come to us and say, we couldn't have done this without you. I don't know how I got through the last few days.
We want to do the best job for every family. No family gets treated differently because it's all about honoring their loved one's life.
Immediately you're struck that Harris Funeral Home is the gold standard. The reputation is strong because of years of faithfulness in caring for people.
This is a family-owned business. It's been around for forever. And generations after generations have worked so hard to keep this business running. And Tom takes pride and does just what his family did.
This has been our life business. And I do reflect back on my grandfather and great-grandfather, my dad and my uncle, and there is that legacy, and I feel that need to carry that legacy on. Sometimes it is staggering when you go back and you think of the thousands of families that you've touched.
Well, when you think of being in business 110 years, 24/7, that's an awesome responsibility, and not many people can claim that.
That's true, yeah. We're always there.
More than the mailman.
More than the mailman. Never shuts down. Well, it started when obviously my grandfather was very young, and he liked the horse-drawn hearse. He just thought that was so classy, and he was intrigued by that.
Well, back then they wore top hat and
well, yeah,
tails.
the top hat and tails,
and
yes.
he loved that pomp and circumstance.
He did like that.
That was the draw.
And he started to provide those services, and then they evolved into a funeral home, which was in downtown Detroit, and it evolved from there. My grandmother was the first licensed funeral director woman in the state of Michigan. I just always admired her and looked up to her. She had a unique graciousness about her. My grandmother and grandfather would pray together every day, and they lived out their faith, and they lived out their ministry, and it was just natural for them to do that.
Harris Funeral Homes has been in business for more than 100 years, and for years they have served to the grieving family members and friends of the deceased in the Detroit area. I've known Tom for a while, and he cares about people, and that's why he's in the business that he's in, helping people process their grief. The irony in all of this is Tom is effectively being punished for following the law. Tom's been there as the owner for quite a while now with his wife Nancy, and they have, as you can imagine, codes of conduct and of dress to make sure that when families and loved ones are coming through, that they can focus on the grieving process. And they hired a gentleman who applied, Anthony Stevens, who promised to abide by those policies, and that included a sex-specific dress code for men, a suit and a tie that Tom would personally pick out for the funeral home managers. Well, 6 years later, Anthony came in and told Tom that he would be gone for 2 weeks and then coming back dressing as a woman because he was a woman trapped in a man's body.
I knew my husband had to make a very important decision.
The first thing that came to mind for me was what was going through his heart and his mind. How did he get to this point? He was an employee that had been there 5 or 6 years. He was in his 50s. He was married. What could he possibly be dealing with and going through for himself? I certainly feel a huge responsibility for my employees and for the women that work there. And then my concern was for the families that we serve. How would they possibly react to this? So there were so many things to think about. And to go through that first 2 weeks was very horrendous. Maybe the 2 hardest weeks of our life.
If we weren't around, families would never get the attention or get the love and the detail and all the special things that we do for them.
Everyone in this company was there for me. When I really needed them, when I lost my son, they were there. They were truly there. They understand. They're right there with you, side by side with you. I would never leave them.
This breaks my heart for Tom that he would lose everything. Like, that's not fair for someone like that. Like, he's worked way too hard to keep this place around that, and someone would just want to take everything from you.
This case is not simply about employment policy. It's much bigger than that. Tom was concerned about lots of people, but he's kind of caught up in this cultural windstorm on this issue. The courts are seeking to redefine the meaning of sex, and that has all kinds of negative consequences, especially for Tom and the multi-generational business that he has, but also for the equal opportunity and privacy of women and girls and others. This has a huge impact for everybody.